Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Upstart. I'm Grisel Scarantino.
And I am Tevi Lawson. Hello,
We are
everyone.
Hello, we're so happy that you're joining us. So just before we hit the record button on this, we were talking about the topic of this episode. And really what we want to focus on is how self-awareness leads to a greater level of fulfillment in our lives, in our personal lives and in our professional lives. So today we really want to shine a light on self-awareness and how that impacts our level of fulfillment.
Absolutely. That sounds like a great subject to tackle today. So let's get right into it. So it seems like you've had some, new developments on your side as far as your business. You've had some moments of reflection to think about how you're running your business and how you wanted to move forward with things. So I I'm so excited to hear, how this notion of self-awareness is now playing a major role in you finding a new direction for your practice.
Now we talked about in the last episode, and probably in episodes before that, talked about how I feel like I'm in this state of evolution in terms of my business, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes evolution, although it's awesome, it can be messy.
That's
It like
true.
brings up all of these questions that now have to be answered. And at least for me, I couldn't rest until I answered those questions. So now I finally have some answers, and I feel confident and excited to move forward with them. And the only reason why I was able to come to conclusions and answer those big old questions that I had in my head was because of my heightened level of self-awareness. And when I say
Yes.
self-awareness, I'm talking about what is it that I really want for my life? I'll
Yes.
I'll I'll try to do an abbreviated version that it is like an example from my own experience that
Yes.
highlights this idea about how self-awareness impacts your level of fulfillment. All right, so
Wonderful.
I'll be vulnerable and share my personal story. So those of you that know me, and even those that don't, maybe know that I stepped out of my full-time job 4 years ago to run my business full-time.
Yes.
And I've been on the steep learning curve ever since, learning things that I knew I needed to learn and things I didn't know that I needed to learn. Before I left my corporate job, I created a vision for my life. And the parts of that vision that I'm going to highlight here are the types of freedoms that I wanted as an independent business owner. I wanted
Very
time
good.
freedom. I wanted the freedom of time. I wanted the freedom to make my own decisions. And I wanted the freedom to live anywhere that I want to and work from anywhere in the
Yes.
world. And I wanted financial freedom. I didn't want to have a financial ceiling, that glass ceiling over
Hmm.
my head anymore. So I stepped out and was doing what a lot of people do when they start a coaching business. Is I started with one-to-one coaching. And I learned how to market and sell my
Hmm.
service. I learned
Hmm.
how to attract the people that I wanted to work with, and I was also attracting people that weren't necessarily my ideal clients. So I created other options for them to engage with so that I could still support them just in a different way.
Hmm.
And then I reached this point after working with you, especially Tevi, on deepening my level of self-awareness. I
Hmm.
came to a point where I knew that it was time for me to step into the next chapter of my life, my personal life and my professional life, right?
Hmm.
And so that's where that evolution, my evolution really became clear to me. And I was like, okay, so now I'm exercising my freedom of making my own decision, but
Hmm.
what do I want that decision to be?
Yes.
And that was confusing. And I went back to my vision and I
Yes.
was like, okay, I reacquainted with that vision. But the problem was that I was connecting to that vision from this place of confusion, overwhelm, feeling
Fear.
fear
Yeah.
of the unknown. Some imposter syndrome was creeping in there big time. There were all these things working against me, right? Now I was like, yeah, no, but I can do this. So I created all these different options for like different avenues to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them really felt right. I didn't feel the excitement and the motivation to like go all in and go into those directions. Like I'd take a couple steps down each one of those avenues, and then I'd be like, this doesn't feel right to me. So I was paying attention to myself and what my gut was telling me,
Yes.
which was great, but my gut was telling me no. I tried this and my gut was like, nope. And I tried that and my gut said nope. So I was trying all these different things and all I was getting no's. I wasn't getting yeses
Uh-huh.
until I went on this really long trip. I talked about it the last time. That road trip gave me time to reconnect with myself, disconnect from everything else, and just be with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back with clarity on how I wanted to change my business model. That gives me a yes. That my gut says,
Nice.
yes, it's this.
Nice.
Um, and now I'm excited to move in that direction. I'm motivated. I'm doing all the things that I need to do, and I'm doing it with like that fear part is gone. Yes, there are a lot of unknowns, but I'm not fearful of them.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I come to an obstacle, there's going to be a way to overcome it. I'll learn it. I'll learn whatever I need to learn, and I will overcome that obstacle. And
Yes.
the reason why is because I'm moving in the right direction.
Exactly.
And all of that whole thing, this is already taking longer than what I wanted to explain this, but this whole momentum to make this forward progress in a way that feels deeply aligned with my authentic self and what I truly want is because of my ability, my awareness
Mm-hmm.
of what the cues that my body is giving me when
Yes.
I go to move forward. So let me just stop there and hear your reactions or any insights or inputs that you want to share about that, because self-awareness is your area
It's huge,
of
yes.
expertise. Yeah. So
And I'm just so happy to see your excitement, right? Because now we're talking work, business, but the fact that you yourself know that finally you took the time to listen to yourself and check and know that this is the direction that you want to go. And all of a sudden, you feel so confident about it and you feel so excited about it. Really, to me, that's the biggest accomplishment because people can set big goals all day long, right? People get ambitious, they want to do this and they want to do that. And especially at the beginning, they feel strong about it, they want to do it, they're invested in all that stuff. However, to get to the point where you feel like the energy is just free flowing and you going with that flow, the excitement is a feeling that you're in alignment with yourself. That's to me, that's the real treasure. Because with that level of excitement, there's no stopping it, right? Because you are going with your natural flow and doing things that now that you found your way of doing things and you're in alignment with it.
yes. So yes. Let's put this into some practical terms so that people can, if you're listening to this, I want you to be able to connect with what we're talking about here about self-awareness. So if you don't have this book yet, The Proxy Diet, A Practical Guide to Self-Analysis and Healing by Tevi, if you don't have this book yet, you need it, because there was something that came out of this book and the work that Tevi and I did together on me that really was pivotal in me being able to figure out, why is it that I didn't want to move in these directions? Why is it
Yes.
that my body is telling me no? And now how can I now create an option for myself that solves the problem and gives
Mm-hmm.
me a firm yes? And for me personally, one of my defaults that I would go into when I was in certain situations. So before I explain that, Tevi, can you
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. And
Sure.
can you give people some context? Just like a quick overview of what are the different proxy,
The character types.
the character types.
Yes. Okay, this is interesting. All right, so we're talking about two different things, right? You have the proxy concept and then you have the character types. So basically, the proxy is like an energy imprint of events that you had to endure throughout your life. A lot of times it has something to do with pain, trauma, stuff like that. Now, that imprint it takes on a life and somehow adopts a character type because you yourself, you have a default character type. Now, based on the event that you had to endure or the circumstances you have to endure, that proxy takes on a character type. That character types ends up becoming the way that you deal with everything in life, right? So, for example, you were talking about earlier when we were, I guess, talking offline about this need to save others, right? This need to put your own needs aside and focus on trying to get somebody else to be on the track that they need to get while you neglecting your own sense of direction, right? So,
Yeah.
doing this work got us to the point where you were able to make a clear distinction when you being that hero type while you prioritizing other people's needs versus when it's time for you to listen and pay attention to your own compass, right? Your own sense of direction and follow that. And you realize that by following that natural flow of yours, you're not actually drifting away from your goals. Actually, you're getting it's like almost like a highway to your goals. Because before you were like running in through the bushes trying to do things that are not really what you're meant to be doing. But now you find your flow, and now it's like you just smooth sailing on that direction that it's your authentic way of doing things. And this is why this self analysis work is so important because it helps you, whoever you are. It's not one size fits all. Nobody has, we don't have to all have the same sense of direction in life. Okay. However, it's important for you to know what does it for you so you
Yeah.
can stay on that track.
Yeah. Yeah. And also have healthy boundaries.
Yes.
So I have the book in front of me and I have the chapter pulled up. Is
Very
it
cool.
okay if I tell you one by one the type, the different type?
Yes.
And as we're doing this,
Yes.
listen to these types and Tevi's explanation of them and see if you can identify which type you might be. So,
Okay.
ready? The
Yes.
hero type. And the hero type is what we were just talking about. That's me, that's my default.
The
And
hero type, the savior type. That's you.
so can you just give us a brief explanation of what that is, the hero type?
Okay. So I'm actually gonna give you an explanation that I've never actually given anyone before. I'm going to give you like a parallel of where the five character types come from so that people can understand this is not stuff that just came out of nowhere. You have to understand what it is. So basically, in life, right? Let's say that you're in a situation where, and the example is in the book, it's like a boulder is coming your way. You're on a narrow path and a boulder is coming your way, right? So depending on who you are, right? There are people who their first reaction will be, let me get out of the way of this boulder so it doesn't crush me.
Mhm.
There are some people that say, whoa, this is coming fast. I better start running. And they start running in the other direction. Okay. There's some people that say, you know what? I'm athletic enough. I might be able to jump over this thing. Right? There are people who say, wait a minute, I have no chance of outrunning this. Maybe I should just duck. Hopefully it will just roll over and I won't have to deal with it. Right? And then there are people out there that feel like, you know what? I think I'm strong enough to stop this thing. Right? So right there, there's like 5 different reactions to the same problem. Now, this is something that comes to us naturally in the moment. Like if you and I are in this situation, I don't know how you're going to react, right? Are you going to take off running the other way? Are you going to try to move to the side? Are you going to jump over it? I don't know. You don't know until you find yourself in the moment, right? So during the self-analysis period, the process, by asking you all the questions and see how you react to things, I was able to determine which character type you were, right? So one is the hero or the savior type. The other one is the regressor type, okay?
What's that? Oh yeah, go ahead. Let's list them off and then we can.
Yes. One of them is the warrior type, okay? And the other one is the avoider type. And the last one would be the
The victim
victim
type.
type,
Mhm.
okay? And or the beggar type, okay?
Mhm.
So every single person has a default character type. So when they find themselves in a situation when things get tough, do you feel sorry for yourself? Or do you feel like this is a battle that you're going to have to fight? Do you feel like it's your job to not only save yourself, but save everybody else? Right? Or are you going to pretend that you're not there and hopefully nothing bad is going to happen to you? Right? So, all these character types, for example, the regressor type are the ones that kind of revert back to lesser level of maturity. You know, those
Mhm.
people, when they're faced with challenges, they start acting like children, like pretending like they're not grown up, they're not equipped to deal with it. Okay.
Mhm.
That's a character type. That's how they deal with things. And then there are people who are confrontational. No matter what, they just take things as a fight, as a battle to be fought and won. And that's how they deal with everything, right? The hero type, unfortunately, that's the one that is the most selfless. And if you are of this character type, you have to really be careful how you manage your energy in relations to other people, whether it's family, whether it's work,
Mhm.
anything you care about, because you will have the tendency to give so much of yourself and not really expect anything in return. Right.
Mhm.
So it's wonderful to see now that you are using these tools and kind of defining this new direction of yours, because now you're seeing that by actually feeding your own energy bank account, you have this excitement to propel yourself forward and be to have that impact that you always wanted to have. And it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be you constantly giving of yourself and dragging yourself to the ground. You're actually now working from a place of empowerment, doing it your way so that you can actually have that energy to propel yourself forward and keep helping people.
Yeah. So as a hero type, which
Yes.
is me, as a hero type,
Yes.
yes, that is that tendency to give and do for others, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
without expecting anything in return. That is my default. That's just what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
it gives me pleasure to do that until I overextend in that space. And it's easy to do if I'm not aware that that is my tendency.
Yes. Yes.
When I overextend, now I'm stretched too thin. Now I'm burnt out. Now I'm being pulled in all of these different directions.
Yes. And you
And
end up
I
having
don't want,
yes, because you end up having resentment
yeah.
toward the people that you're helping and resentment toward the work that you're doing, as if it's taking something away from you.
Which is it's confusing because how could I, without this level of self-awareness, how could I be resentful of the thing that I do naturally, and I do it
Exactly.
because it comes naturally from inside of me, right?
Yes.
It required having that level of self-awareness so that I can look at what's happening, and I could look at myself, and I could look at if my boundaries are shifting, because if it is and I'm not making space for myself to
Mm-hmm.
refill my cup, to do what I enjoy, to feed my body, heart, spirit, soul, whatever, like to feed my needs. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm not leaving the space to do that, then I'm not in a good place,
Exactly.
and as a business owner, that's why my gut was telling me no with all of these different options, because I was, like I said, I was creating those options from a place of exhaustion, logic only. But I was already tired. I was already overworked. I was already like steeped in life and all of the things that come with life, right? And it
Yes.
wasn't until I disconnected from all of that and really got back in touch with myself that I got that clarity, like, oh, this is why my gut
Yes.
is telling me no, because I'm still by default creating options that put me in that same position to overextend and not
Yes.
leave enough room to feed myself. And that doesn't feel good. That's why my gut was telling me no.
Yes. Yeah. And the awareness of it all is priceless.
Incredibly empowering, because it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, now all right, so this is why. Now what solves that problem?
Yeah.
Oh, this
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
And it still allows me to give. It still allows me to help. There's nothing that I'm ever going to be able to do that's going to change that. That's who I am by nature.
Yeah.
I still want to give. I still
Exactly.
want.
Exactly. See, that's the thing. It's important to make this distinction. Because when we talk about self-awareness, right? Prioritizing yourself, automatically some people, especially the hero types, they're like, well, do you mean I have to turn my back away from the people that I used to help, right? Or this guilt. It's like, whoa, I can now finally focus on myself. I don't even know how to do that. I feel guilty because I've always been the one that take care of other people. The point of this exercise is not for you to stop being who you are. The
Yeah.
point of it is for you to understand yourself better so that you can put yourself in position to do as you always wanted to do, but in a way that is sustainable for you.
Mhm.
In a way that does not drain you, and in a way that does not work against you. Because no matter how much you're willing, if you don't have a process that is sustainable, that actually keeps your energy level at a healthy level or a healthy state, eventually, eventually, you're gonna get to the point where you cannot go any further. Now you're gonna start looking around. So where did I go wrong? I'm the person who gives. Where did I go wrong? Where did And this is why it's important to do that self-analysis, because it's not about turning your back on people. It's actually knowing how to be better at doing the things that you're doing anyway. But you're doing it your way and you know why and how you're doing it, so it flows much better.
And you feel fulfilled in doing
Yes.
it instead of drained and overextended.
Yes. So you go much further. Whatever your endeavors are, you'll go much further if you do it according to your nature, according to your energy level. You know,
Mhm.
one thing I usually ask my clients when we work, we get to a certain point, especially people in the professional world, because it's like, okay, working hard, everybody's working so hard, everybody's driven, we're trying to find solutions to better ourselves in our lives. And I was like, okay, imagine as we speak right now, you get a message, text, email, whatever, saying for whatever reason, you will never have to worry about money ever again for the rest of your life. Okay. So that's one part of the question. Imagine in this very moment, you will never ever have to worry about money ever again for you or anybody that you care about. What would you be doing with this time? And usually people are frozen. I don't know.
Mhm.
Because we've always built our schedules, our lifestyle, everything around our needs, right? You got to make money somehow. You have to, right? Obligation needs. And most of it comes down to money.
Yeah.
If money is no longer an issue, who are you,
Mhm.
right? And the second part of that question is, if you never get to worry about what anybody will have to say about you ever, what would you be doing right now? Right?
What a fun question to think about.
Right? So,
Yeah.
how well do you know yourself outside of
Mhm.
obligations and expectations?
Mhm.
What do you know about yourself? And unfortunately, I can tell you every single time I ask this question, I never get a straight answer because nobody really knows.
Mhm.
So I get this awkward silence, and usually we have to move on because each person needs time to think about this, right? But we don't do that. We've always been busy chasing after these obligations, making sure that we're not losing our battle against whatever it is that we're fighting for or against.
And that we're living up
Self-awareness.
and that we're living up to people's expectations.
Yes. So, at what point do we become aware of who we actually are? If you take out the expectation and the obligations, what do we do? Seriously, if you never have to worry about finances ever again for the rest of your life, what would you be doing and how would you be doing it? And usually, you see what I'm saying? It's not so easy to answer. And I believe personally that we should take the time to ask ourselves that question.
Should.
Because you'll be surprised
Mhm.
how, at the end of the day, if you allow yourself to ask yourself that question and give it a day, you'll be surprised the kind of stuff that you're going to come up with.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's like, yeah, how well do you know yourself, really? You know,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
how fascinating would it be if you actually get to be that person? We're all very interesting individuals if we take the time to see who we truly are and what we can be doing or what we can be outside of our obligations and
Mhm.
expectations.
Mhm.
Now, in most cases, people might just go right back to doing what they're doing, right? Another thing I notice is that because I have been around people that don't have to worry about money, okay? People of all ages, gender, okay, that do not have to worry about money. And guess what? I notice they're the ones that work the hardest.
Mhm.
And you wonder why. So here's another thing. You think you're doing what you're doing right now because of somehow, some way, financially, you have to align yourself to live a certain lifestyle, right? If I take away all your financial burdens, you probably be doing the same thing. So I believe it's important to figure out what it is about
Mhm.
what you're doing that is so important to you that you will do it, even when you don't have any kind of financial expectation attached
Mhm.
to it. Or if it's the type of life you're living, it's like the day you tell me I am not even going to spend a second in this room, I'm walking out. Then maybe you should reflect on why is it that you're doing what you're doing. So I
That's that
guess, yes.
that's the thing that you're absolutely right. We are each fascinating individuals, and there is like this um unexplored abyss side
Yes.
of us
Yes.
that when we allow ourselves to explore the depths of that abyss, life changing things happen. And you know what? Those life changing things happen because the more we know about ourselves, the more we have like a gauge or a North Star that helps
Mm-hmm.
us make decisions.
Yes.
And like each decision of all of the millions of decisions that we're faced with every single day, and all of the different options that we can take for each one of those decisions, one decision has a result that is
Mm-hmm.
drastically different from the result of this other decision or that decision. The decision itself of each of those decisions, one of them isn't necessarily harder to take than the other one, but the results could be drastically different, right?
Yes.
And if we know, the more we know about ourselves,
Yes.
now we are positioned to make the decisions that have this result that leads to our overall happiness, fulfillment, joy.
Mhm.
And without that level of self-awareness, we're like, well, okay, I'm faced with this decision. Well, okay, I guess we'll do this. I need to make the decision quickly because I need to just
Exactly.
get it off my plate and move on to the next thing. So here's my decision. And there's the outcome that I have to live with. And
Exactly.
like a repetitive pattern of that ends up where we're just like living in this situation or working in a situation where we're like, damn, how did I get here? Why don't I feel good? Why doesn't
Exactly.
on paper everything's great, but why do I not feel good? Why does this feel so terrible? I can't put my finger on it.
Exactly.
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness. Self-awareness. Like, okay, for example, a deserted island, right? I don't know, some survivor from a ship. You end up on a deserted island. What do people do? They will find shelter somewhere close to the beach. They're trying to find food somewhere close to the beach, just so maybe another ship is passing by, they can get their attention. Or if somebody shows up, they want to be safe, so they stay on the beach. Now, you have no idea how big the island is. You have no idea the forests or whatever else is back there, the waterfalls, the food that's available. Maybe there's a village back there. Maybe there's a city back there, right? People won't know because you spend your whole life on that one tiny beach, hoping that some ship will come and rescue you.
Mm.
Okay. We do this with pretty much everything in life because, especially whatever this generation, the time that we're living in, scarcity, we don't have enough, right? You have to work so hard to be able to afford your life, your house, your car, and all that stuff. So we don't dare explore what's out there that makes us us, right?
Mhm.
We just want to leverage whatever we go and study in school, tell you go get your degree and whatever. So you get whatever education you get that can afford you that lifestyle that appears to be good enough to fit in. into the society that you were born into. So anything about you has to be defined by those perimeters. Do well enough to afford a life that most people that you have around you can see as acceptable. There's a lot more to life than trying to have four walls around you that most
Mhm.
people will find acceptable, right? Or those four wheels that most people would find acceptable. And to me, this is what the work personally that I'm doing. That's what it's about. We are amazing creatures, entities, however you want to call it, with so much to offer, so many layers, so many dimensions. And we limit ourselves simply because we never take the time to even get a sense of who we are. Why is it so scary for like to know who you are? Do you understand what I'm saying? And the
Yeah, yeah.
power that comes from just that simple fact, self-awareness, the power that comes with it, it's incredible.
It's life changing, literally
Yes,
changing.
yes. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're having these conversations because I guess this conversation is kind of like an evolution, part of the evolution of the work that we started a few months ago, right? Where we had to work through these steps to be here now and having these conversations, and you finally getting to the point where, yes, this is what self awareness can afford you. And it's necessary. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity.
It is. It is. It's a necessity for um to be more fulfilled in our personal life and in our professional life.
Yes, absolutely.
So I encourage you again, if you don't have this book, you need to get it, The Proxy Diet, A Practical Guide to Self-Analysis and Healing by Tevi Lawson. You can find it on Tevi's website, www dot, is
Yes.
it www.tevilawson.com? Is it
It's
tevilawson.com?
just TeviLawson.com.
TeviLawson.com, and I'm sure
Yes.
that there are other ways to connect with Tevi on your website, right?
Yes. I'm
Um,
on. Yeah, the website has a lot of material. Actually, I have a lot of video material. I'm making
mhm.
more content, and these discussions are part of it because I believe it's a big subject, and it's not something that you can have in one conversation and get to the bottom of all of it. So I understand that there's a lot of discussions to be had, yes, to be
Mhm.
had.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the more we talk about it, the clearer it gets. And the more people can start to open their eyes to the fact that simply getting to know yourself is life changing.
Yeah, and and it's a layer. There are a lot of layers to who we are.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's definitely a process. I think that this book, which is why I brought it up again, this book is a really nice starting point to open your eyes to what your tendencies might be and how are they
Yes.
working for you and how can you have them work better for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope that this conversation gave you some food for thought, gave you some clarity around what your tendencies might be, how you are using those tendencies to help you be more fulfilled, where some boundaries might need to be strengthened to reclaim your energy so that you can be more fulfilled. If you have questions, you know how to contact us. We're going to leave our contact information down in the note section of this episode, and reach out to us. Give us a like if you followed this. Share with a friend who would benefit from this conversation. And with that, my friends, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.